I had been putting off learning to drive for years. I was already 25, and most of my friends had been driving since they were teenagers. But I had always lived in cities with good public transportation, so I never really needed a car. Now I had moved to a smaller town for work, and driving was basically necessary. That's how I ended up in a car with my driving instructor, Tom, on a Saturday morning. Okay, first things first. Adjust your seat so you can reach all the pedals comfortably. Your back should be against the seat, and your arms should have a slight bend when you hold the steering wheel. I moved the seat forward and adjusted the mirrors like he showed me. My hands were sweating, and my heart was beating fast. I had never felt so nervous about something so simple. Now, let's talk about the basics. This is the brake, this is the gas pedal, and this is the clutch. We're starting with an automatic today, so you don't need to worry about the clutch yet. That makes things easier. Tom was in his 50s with gray hair and a calm voice. He had been a driving instructor for over 20 years, and his car had dual controls so he could brake or steer if necessary. That made me feel slightly better. The most important thing to remember is to stay calm. Everyone is nervous when they first start, but driving becomes natural with practice. Ready to start the engine? I nodded and turned the key. The car started with a quiet hum. We were in an empty parking lot, which was good because there were no other cars around. Put your foot on the brake and shift the gear to D for drive. Good. Now slowly, very slowly, take your foot off the brake. The car will start moving on its own. I did what he said, and the car began to roll forward. I immediately panicked and pressed the brake too hard. The car jerked to a stop. That's okay, you pressed the brake too hard, but that's normal at first. Try again, and this time be gentler with the brake. We spent the next 30 minutes just practicing moving forward and stopping. It was harder than it looked. My movements were jerky, and I kept forgetting to check my mirrors. You're doing fine. Remember to breathe. Tension makes everything harder. Let's try turning now. See those cones over there? I want you to drive toward them and make a right turn. I drove slowly toward the cones, my hands gripping the steering wheel too tightly. When I tried to turn, I turned the wheel too much and almost hit a cone. Okay, remember that a little movement of the wheel creates a big change in direction. You don't need to turn it so much. Let's try again. We practiced turns for another 30 minutes. Left turns, right turns, wide turns, tight turns. Slowly, I started to get a feel for how much to turn the wheel. Tom was patient the entire time, never getting frustrated even when I made the same mistake multiple times. Much better. You're starting to get the hang of it. Let's take a break for a few minutes. We got out of the car and stretched. Tom offered me some water from a bottle he kept in the car. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Tired. I didn't think driving would be so exhausting." He laughed. "It's because you're concentrating so hard and your body is tense. As you get more comfortable, it'll become less tiring. You're actually doing well for your first lesson." "Really? It doesn't feel like it." "Trust me, I've taught hundreds of people. Some are much worse on their first day. You're listening to instructions and learning from your mistakes. That's what matters." After the break, we got back in the car. This time, Tom had me practice parking between two cones. This was even harder than turning. I had to reverse, turn, straighten out, and stop without hitting anything. I hit the cones several times before I finally managed to park correctly. Excellent. See, you can do it when you focus. Let's practice that a few more times to build your confidence. By the end of the 2-hour lesson, I was exhausted, but proud of myself. I had gone from being terrified to at least feeling like I could control the car in a basic way. Great first lesson. For next time, we'll practice more in this parking lot, and if you're ready, we might try driving on a quiet street. Keep practicing what you learned today in your mind. Visualization actually helps. I thanked Tom and scheduled my next lesson for the following week. As I took the bus home, I thought about the lesson. It had been scary, but I had survived. Tom's patient teaching style made me feel like I could actually learn this skill. I just needed to practice and not give up. Over the next few weeks, I had a lesson every Saturday morning. Gradually, we moved from the parking lot to quiet residential streets, then to busier roads. Each lesson brought new challenges. I learned about right-of-way, traffic signs, highway driving, and parallel parking. There were moments when I wanted to quit, like the time I stalled the car at a red light when we switched to a manual transmission, or when I almost sideswiped a parked car because I misjudged the distance. But Tom was always there, calm and encouraging, helping me learn from each mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. That's how you learn. The important thing is to stay calm and not let one bad moment ruin your confidence. After 3 months of weekly lessons, Tom told me I was ready to take the driving test. I was nervous, but also excited. On the day of the test, I arrived early and practiced deep breathing to calm myself down. The test examiner was a serious-looking woman who didn't smile much. She gave me instructions in a monotone voice, and we set off. I focused on everything Tom had taught me, checking mirrors, signaling, maintaining proper speed, and staying calm. When we returned to the testing center, the examiner filled out some paperwork without saying anything. My heart was pounding as I waited for her verdict. "You passed. Congratulations." I couldn't believe it. I had actually done it. I thanked her and almost ran to find Tom, who was waiting in the parking lot. When I told him the news, he smiled broadly. "I knew you would pass. You worked hard and never gave up. I'm proud of you." That evening, I called my parents to tell them the good news. My mom was thrilled, and my dad joked that he couldn't believe I was finally joining the rest of the driving world. I celebrated by treating myself to dinner at my favorite restaurant. Looking back now, I'm glad I finally learned to drive. It opened up so many possibilities and made my life easier. But more than that, it taught me that it's never too late to learn something new, and that with patience and practice, you can master skills that once seemed impossible.